about percent of change. So with percent of change, it's the ratio of the amount of change to the original amount. We've been in percents for the last 2 weeks or somewhere around that. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So on your notes, you want to fill that in that this is the percent of change. And percent of change really means the amount of change over the original price or the original amount. So what does that really mean? Well, the amount of change is actually going to be the difference. And when we think of the difference, we think about subtracting. And the original, we'll identify that as we keep going. So let's keep going. Let's talk about the types of percent of change. One, when the original amount goes up, it is called a percent increase. When the original amount goes down, it's called a percent decrease. Let's do an example. Marianne bought a $30 slow cooker for $20. We're going to find the percent of change and classify it as either increase or decrease. So if she bought a $30 slow cooker for $20, what do you think happened there? If this is the original price and this is the new price, that means that it went down. So we know we're talking about a percent decrease. And for us to determine what is the decrease percentage, we need to find the difference over the original. So the difference, it doesn't matter what number you put first, but remember, we want it to be a positive number because our percentage needs to be positive. So the difference will be 30 minus 20 over 30 because 30 is the original amount or the oldest amount. So when we do that, 30 minus 20 is 10 over 30. Now, I hope you guys remember that I said if the fraction ends in both zeros, we can go ahead and eliminate part of that. So I'm going to just go ahead and draw a line through those zeros. So what we're really looking at is 1/3. So from here, we're going to go ahead and solve. We have to find a decimal. So we have to actually do some division here. So what this really turned into was 1/3. Some of you might already know what the decimal equivalency for 1/3 is, but if you don't, I'm going to show you. So again, it's going to be 3 go into 1. 3 cannot go into 1, so I'm going to add a 0 and a decimal. When I do that, now I'm able to go ahead and add a 0 inside the divisor. So 3 can go into 10 3 times, which then becomes 9. And I'm left with 1. I can add another 0. 3 can go into 10 3 times, which is 9. And if you notice, we have a pattern here. So we're going to put the repeat sign, saying that this number is going to keep repeating itself. So our decimal is 0.333 repeating. So how do we turn that into a percent? Well, remember, if I move the decimal 2 times to the right, that's how I can get to a percent. So let's do that. So 1, 2. That means that my percentage here is 33.3 repeating percent, and this is a decrease. Now it says you try, but we're going to do another one together, and then we'll go from there. And then you should be able to, I want you to go ahead and try as well. So we're going to go ahead and do number 2 together, and then you're going to do number 4. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and you're going to do 4. All right. So last week, Joe ran 45 miles. So last week he ran 45 miles. This week he ran 34 miles. So what does that tell us? Well, if Joe ran 34 miles and 45, this 45 last week is my original, and this 34 is my new. So remember, I want the difference over the original. So 45 minus 34 over the original of 45. That turns out to be 11 over 45. 11 over 45 decimal equivalency is actually just 0.24 repeating. So what would that look like as a decimal? As a percentage? Well, remember, we're going to move the decimal place 2 times. But because this is a repeater, I have to still identify that this is a repeater. So what that would look like will become 24.4 repeating percent. And did it go down or up? Well, he went from 45 to 34. That means it went down. So this is a percent decrease. Let's do another one. We'll do number 2. A computer store changed the price of a laptop from $250 to $290. Is this a percent increase or decrease? Well, our original was $250, our new is $290, so we know that this went up. So we want to find our difference over the original. So the difference would be subtracting these two, so it would be $290 minus $250, because we always want a positive number. And my original is $250. So don't get tricked and just try to put any of the bigger numbers to the bottom. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes it's going to be a smaller number in our denominator. So 290 minus 250, that's 40 over 250. So remember, we said that if they both end in 0, I can cross out them zeros. So I'm really looking at 4 over 25. So when we do the math, we can say, how many times does 25 go into 4? Well, I know it doesn't go into 4. So I'm going to add a decimal, and then I can put a 0 here. 25 can go into 40 one time, and that's 25. That becomes 5 and 1. So 15, I need a 0. 25 can go into 150 6 times, exactly 150. So my decimal here is 0.16 hundredths. But remember, I don't want a decimal, I want a percentage. So I'm going to move it 1, 2 times to the right, which will give me to my percent of 16%. And this is an increase. So you see, you already are kind of set up for success with finding percent of change. Let's go ahead and jump right here to number 4. This is the one I want you to do. Lily's old car seat had a maximum weight of 40 pounds. Her new car seat has a max weight of 70 pounds. First, decide, is this going to be an increase or a decrease? Draw your arrow. And then I need you to decide which one is your original and your new, and then solve. When you're done with this problem, you're going to go ahead and move to your homework practice, and you're going to do these problems. You need to have all of them done and turn them in. If you don't finish, it becomes your homework. I'll show the notes a little longer in case you didn't finish writing. But don't forget, the teacher will come around and check your number 4.